Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Hi there.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at Hypertensor,
Right.
specifically a new feature that they're rolling out called Node Delegate Staking.
Oh, interesting stuff.
So
Yeah.
this is a pretty big deal for folks who are interested in decentralized AI infrastructure, which is kind of a mouthful to say.
It is, yeah.
But I think, a lot of our listeners are really keyed into this right now, and this is a pretty big development.
It is a pretty significant step forward, I think, in terms of how these kinds of networks are going to evolve.
So before we jump into what Node Delegate Staking actually is, can you maybe give us a little bit of context? What was the situation before this new feature came along?
So before Node Delegate Staking, if you wanted to participate in a Hypertensor subnet, you could delegate your stake to the subnet as a whole.
Okay.
So basically, you were just kind of supporting the entire network.
Gotcha. So it was less targeted.
Exactly. Yeah, it was more like, you're rooting for a whole team instead of being able to pick your favorite player.
Yeah.
And that's really where Node Delegate Staking comes in.
Interesting. Okay, so how does that work then?
So now with Node Delegate Staking, you can actually choose to delegate your stake to individual nodes within a subnet.
Whoa.
So you can actually pick and choose, I want to support this particular node because I think they're doing great work, or
That's cool.
I believe in their mission.
It's a lot more granular.
Exactly. Yeah, it's way more targeted.
Okay.
And it allows for much more kind of nuanced participation in the network.
So what does this actually mean for the security of the network?
Yeah.
How does this impact that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So basically, when you delegate your stake to a node,
Go ahead.
you're essentially putting up some of your cryptocurrency as collateral.
Okay.
And this incentivizes the node operator to act honestly and efficiently,
Right.
because if they don't,
Yeah.
they risk losing their stake.
Gotcha.
So the more stake a node attracts, the more influence it has within the subnet, and also the more secure it is because they have more to lose.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a self-regulating system in a way?
Yeah, exactly. It's a way of kind of using economic incentives to ensure the security of the network.
So for everyday users who aren't necessarily, hardcore crypto people or tech wizards,
Right.
what does this actually mean for them? What are some of the real-world implications?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that it makes participation in the network way more accessible.
Okay.
You don't need to be a technical expert or run your own node to contribute.
Right.
You can just delegate your stake to a node that you believe in
Bounty.
and help secure the network that way.
So it's kind of democratizing the process in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's breaking down those barriers to entry and allowing anyone to get involved.
But are there any potential downsides to making it so easy to participate?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could that potentially compromise security?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely something to be mindful of. One potential challenge is making sure that the stake is distributed fairly.
Right.
If a few really popular nodes end up with a huge amount of stake,
Yeah,
that could create some vulnerabilities.
I see.
So I think it's important for the community to keep an eye on how the power dynamics are evolving
Right.
with this new system.
Okay, cool. So for someone like me who's interested in supporting the network,
Mm-hmm.
how do I actually go about choosing which node to support?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you can kind of think of it like researching an investment.
Okay.
You'd look at a company's track record, their performance,
Yeah.
the potential, and similarly, you can look at a node's history.
Right.
You can see how long they've been up and running,
Yeah.
how much processing power they have, how much they're contributing to the network.
That makes sense.
And you can choose to support nodes that align with your vision for Hypertensor's future.
So this also leads to more efficient allocation of resources, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
The best performing nodes. The ones that are really doing the heavy lifting,
Yeah.
they're now going to get more support
Okay.
because they're attracting more stake,
Gotcha.
which means they can do even more computations.
Right.
And ultimately, that benefits everyone who's using the platform.
So it's kind of a win-win for both the individual users and the network as a whole.
Yeah, exactly.
But is there a risk that node operators might start to prioritize profit over the quality of their service?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. And I think one way to address that is through transparency
Okay.
and community oversight.
Right.
Hypertensor has always been very open about its development.
Yeah.
And they encourage community involvement. So I think it's important to continue holding node operators accountable
Right.
and make sure that they're incentivized, not just for profit, but also for the long-term health of the network.
Okay, cool. So let's zoom out a little bit and think about the bigger picture here.
Sure.
what does all of this mean for the future of hypertensor and decentralized AI as a whole?
Well, I think this is a really powerful step towards making Hypertensor's infrastructure more robust, more efficient, and more inclusive.
Right.
And I think it's also a testament to the potential of community-driven innovation in this space.
That's awesome.
People are really coming together to build something new and exciting.
Yeah, it seems like Hypertensor is really pushing the boundaries here, and this Node Delegate Staking is just another example of that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think this is just the beginning.
Right.
The beauty of decentralized systems is that they're constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And there's always something new and innovative happening.
So to wrap things up here, I think it's safe to say that Hypertensor's Node Delegate Staking is a pretty big deal.
It is.
It empowers individual users, strengthens the network, and paves the way for even more advancements in decentralized AI.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And knowing Hypertensor, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg.
Definitely, yeah. They're always pushing the envelope.
So here's a thought for everyone listening. Could this model of directly supporting individual contributors be applied to other areas where decentralization is key?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, just something to think about.
Definitely worth considering.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
It was a pleasure as always.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.